We're talking about why being too nice is killing your business and how to fix it. Now, yes, we want to be nice. We want to be kind. We want to over deliver and have our clients love us, have our employees love working for us. But there is a difference between over delivering and being taken advantage of. So, if you needed to hear this topic today, say me in the chat. We've got a really, really good conversation. And I'll tell you this, if you think you don't have problems with boundaries, think again, because every new stage, every new milestone that you step into, your boundaries should be changing. So on Instagram, I'm at Stacy Tuschl. If you're not following me over there, I posted just recently and I said, who has trouble with boundaries, right? Setting boundaries, having them, etc., with clients or team. And a shocking 25% of people said no, they don't have boundary problems. And here's what I know to be true after working with hundreds of business owners all over the globe. If you think you don't have boundary problems, you're settling for who you've become. Okay. So at somebody who's grossing over $1 million a month, I have boundary problems because I am doing my behaviors from last month, last quarter, last year. And I need to up level how I'm behaving, who I'm interacting with, what that looks like. And you will always have trouble because what happens is you get so connected to who your new identity is, and then you own it. You stay there. What you're doing feels normal. It's part of your day to day. Does that make sense, everybody? Okay. So I'm hoping for any of the 25% that said, oh, I don't have it, I'm hoping I'm changing your beliefs, because if I don't change your beliefs, you're not going to actually take this information and improve. And you should be outperforming yourself every year. So when I say boundaries, I'm talking about what you tolerate and what you don't tolerate. And think about it. What you tolerated in the beginning of your business is probably different than what you tolerated 5 years in. What you tolerated when you weren't profitable is probably different than what you tolerated when you were profitable, right? Or if you're at a profit margin of 15%, you may have tolerated certain behaviors that at 25%, you're like, I don't need to do that anymore. Okay. So you should always be outperforming yourself in what I'm calling tolerating, right? That word might help you start to grasp and understand, you're right. What do I tolerate? Okay. And also really look and observe how far have I come, right? What behaviors did I used to do that I no longer do anymore? And start to recognize you are growing. Okay. Let me ask you this. On a scale of 1 to 10, where do you feel you are at with boundaries when it comes to your clients? 1 to 10, 10 being like you are mastering boundaries. 1, they are non-existent. You do whatever they ask because you're over delivering. You're trying to give them everything they want, even if it's not what they paid for, right? You're just going above and beyond, like above and beyond, right? Okay. So with clients, I really want you to think about that. All right. So we've got Cheryl says 8, Jennifer 7, Lori 7, Erica 7, Josh Nutt 5, Wendy 6. Okay. So what I want you thinking about now is grasping what is stopping me from that next number. So don't look at anybody's numbers, Rick. Don't look at anybody else's numbers, right? Stick with who you are and where you're behaving, because let's be real, Rick's 4 could be actually a whole lot better than Wendy's 6. We don't know how they're judging themselves, right? Or maybe Rick's a little harder on himself, right? So what I want you to think about is, what does that next level look like with my clients, right? How can I step up in that area? Okay. Now there's clients and then there's team members. So rate yourself now. Where are you 1 to 10 with your team? So if we're on this live together and you're getting, interruptions, text messages, emails, you're slacking, those are boundaries, right? But I'm choosing to respond to them. Yeah. You're choosing to not set a boundary when you're multitasking, right? So sometimes we actually see business owners get a little bit less with the team. Okay. Feels like it's urgent, feels like they need you. You start to feel guilty as you back out of the business, right? Because you're like, well, I'm not there, but I want to make sure they got the answers. So we start to make other excuses. Okay. And I'll tell you what we've seen just working with so many business owners is usually the boundaries are really bad with clients, right? And then you get so frustrated, you start to put better systems and policies in place, and the client boundaries start to get better. But as clients get better and you back out of all of the fulfillment and the front, forward facing customer experience, you start to have bad behavior with your team. Okay. So, what I really want to help you understand is you can have both right from the get go. Because what a boundary is just an expectation, right? So, even if you're just getting started building that team or building management or building leaders, you can start from the get go of having really good, clear, solid boundaries in place. Okay. So good. Now, there's a third piece that I bring up because I've seen it all over the place, and that is your family and friends. So maybe you are so good with your team, you are so good with your clients, but man, when mom calls or texts or she calls 6 times a day, right? You pick it up, or you're irritated or annoyed or you're frustrated or you're whatever that looks like. Okay. So sometimes we see family boundaries because there's this sense of obligation of like, but it's different with clients and it's different with a team. My family is who I have with my family, and that's just how we communicated all of the things, right? And I will tell you that you can absolutely establish new boundaries with family as well. Okay. So the question really becomes, where are you currently struggling? And then which one is hurting you the most? And where do we start? Because I really believe these 3 different groups of people are all treated very differently. Because think, in one situation, the client is paying you. Situation number 2, you are paying somebody. Okay. Very different way we set up boundaries. Number 3, there's no payment, right? It is just the way that you've been having this communication, whether you've grown up with them, right? They've turned into family or friends or neighbors or whatever it is. So we really want to get clear on which one is hurting me the most right now and where do I need to pour more time and energy in. So remember, nobody in this room should be a 10 out of 10 in any of these categories, okay? Oh, Lori works with family. When I work with family, Lori, I treat family as team in the team environment. But then there's different hats. And now it's like, oh, this is a personal conversation. Where does that personal conversation happen? Okay. And we've got really strict boundaries on like, when we're together for business, we can talk business, right? Keep the personal stuff out. But when we're at Christmas, the rest of the family doesn't want to hear the business troubles. So we really got to get good at not talking about the business when we're in a personal or a family setting, right? So you've got to be really, really careful that you don't cross them. So I've got like the ultimate. I have a sister who's 11 months apart from me. So not only do we work together, she's my family, and we have a similar friend group. So I don't want to be hanging out with my friends talking business, right? So we have to have very, very clear situations where we discuss like what's okay, what's not okay. Okay. All right. So out of those 3, family, team, clients, where do you think your focus should be for the rest of Q1? We're halfway through Q1. Where do you think your focus should be in one of those 3 areas? Where would you like to see improvement happen? You could do all 3. I do find it a lot easier to have a single focus so you can go all in. Okay, Cheryl is saying team. Page 27, customers. Yeah, and it's going to be different for everybody, right? It really is. So the question that I have for you once you decide, okay, it's team, it's whoever, right? The reason I want you to get specific is because if you have a constraint right now with client boundaries, the things you have to work on are client expectations, client systems, etc. Okay. If you have problems with the team, totally different systems. So instead of saying, I'm going to tackle everybody and we're going to get this all done right now in February, okay, what I would absolutely want you to do, okay, is I would rather have you say February February is going to be my team focus, and I'm going to put in a few systems in place for the team. And when I feel like we've got it dialed in, okay, I then want you to think about the next piece of, okay, where is my next biggest frustration? Okay. I really want you to be thinking about that. Okay. All right. I love it. Let me see what else. If you've got any questions, posted in the chat. Before you leave today, I'm going to be gifting you another workbook with some boundary tips, how to get stronger boundaries, how to say no, just anything you need. We're going to give you that completely free, so you have another document to really go through and have added to in your tool belt. Okay. So don't let me forget. I will make sure to gift that to you before we jump off. So in case you just joined, we are talking about setting better boundaries in your business, okay? And sometimes it's personally you have to set better boundaries because it's impacting your business or vice versa, okay? So the first thing I would do, step one, is audit. What are you frustrated about? What are you annoyed with? What are you venting about at the end of the day? There are clues in your frustrations, right? And I always say to people, a frustration is just a lack of a system. That's all it is. So when I'm annoyed, angry, frustrated, I can't believe they did this. Why does nobody know how to do this? It just tells me I'm missing a system. So start to take note at the end of your day. Why are you frustrated? Why are you upset? Write it down. And then we can figure out, well, what's the system that's missing? And if I were to put it in place, would it take that frustration away? Okay. All right. From there, when you're looking at this audit, this boundary audit of what is going wrong, okay, identify the one big one. We're going to start to create the systems that will start to figure out, why is this happening? So we need to develop a really clear written expectation. Okay. So a lot of times a lack of a boundary is just a lack of expectation that is clearly communicated. That's it. You might have the expectation, but it's in your head. You just assumed they would know that. Like, how many of you are making assumptions of like, of course you're not going to message me at 10:30 p.m. at night, but it doesn't say it anywhere, right? Of course you're not going to do XYZ, but you've never told them, or you've told them once in onboarding, one time, right? Say me in the chat if you're guilty. I do this. I used to do this, I should say, all the time. I would have hidden secret rules that you better just know, right? And then when you didn't know, I would get upset, right? And we've got to be really, really careful. Or I would think, but I told them this. How could they be messing this up? I said it once. I told them on day one. It's like, hello, how many things did you tell them on day one? And you expected them to remember everything, okay? Onboarding is not a one-day experience. Onboarding is not a one time of telling somebody something. It is repetition. Put that word in the chat, repetition. You need to be repeating over and over and over and over. So let's say right now you tell people what dress code is, okay? And you tell them one time in onboarding, and then you never bring it up ever again. And then what happens is at some point, the team's dress clothes, right? Or the dress code starts to change. And it's because it hasn't been talked about in a while. And then when one person wears something or does something, the other people in the room say, oh, we're allowed to wear that? Okay, cool, right? And then pretty soon there is no dress code and people are just doing whatever they want, okay? So here's just a tip that I want you to understand when I talk about the word repetition. So you bring it up in onboarding. Here is what we wear. Here is how we present ourselves. Here's what executive presence looks like, etc. Okay. And then they all do it because you've told them, right? And it's fresh. But what happens is they've been wearing it and you haven't said anything about it. Okay. And then one day somebody's like, I'm going to wear a hoodie and see if it's allowed, right? So before that even happens, start recognizing when people are just following the rules. So you show up to a meeting and everybody's in dress code. You probably don't think to say, hey, everybody, thanks for doing what I told you. You don't do that. What we normally do is we go, okay, here's a list of all the things we did wrong last month. Let's review them and let's fix them. Okay. So what I encourage you to do is whatever this boundary is, right? Let's just stick with the dress code situation, is go to that meeting where everybody's just doing what they were told and say, hey, I just want to pause for a minute and just recognize like everybody's in dress code. And I just want to say thank you for doing that. And just kind of remind you, what do I even mean when I say dress code? I mean, making this up, business casual. Everybody's wearing black pants or nice denim with no rips in it. Thank you for not wearing a hoodie. Thank you for having your hair either done up or neatly pulled back or whatever it is, right? And they're like, yeah, no problem. You're welcome, you know? But what happens is you're not just recognizing them and they feel good that you're saying, hey, good job. Thanks for listening. But you're reminding them. You're repeating things that they're like, oh, yeah, we can't wear hoodies. Good to know. She just said that last week, right? So you will actually kind of get in front of boundary problems that happen. So I love a team. If you know who I am, you know I love building a team and I love loyalty. But okay, I have people that have worked for me now for over 15 years. And sometimes when they get to 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, they start to feel entitled. They start to feel like they've earned the right to do whatever they want to do. And they don't always have to listen because I've been here 8 years. I don't need to do that. Right. So you want to be really careful because the longer they're with you, the more you have to reiterate sometimes. Right. You also need to lead by example. So if I have this big dress code and no hoodies is one of them, and I show up to the meeting in a hoodie, you better believe they're going to start following my lead. So you better be your best testimonial, your best, right? Like you better show off that you are modeling the behavior you are expecting. Does this make sense? Can you say yes for me in the chat? Okay. So we're going to remind, we're going to repeat, we're going to explain, spell out. Don't just say, thanks for following dress code. Thanks for following dress code. I love that you're in X, Y, Z. Spell it out. Okay. And then the opposite side of that is if you didn't go fast enough and somebody does show up wearing what they shouldn't. Okay. Couple things. Number one, immediately privately say, hey, just a reminder, this is what dress code is. I've noticed you've got this on. So in the future, please make sure you follow this. You may even have backup attire to say, hey, you're not in this. We've got an extra in the back. Could you go grab one today? If you even allow it because they forgot, they're going to keep forgetting. Okay. So I really, really want you thinking about that. And then, yes, you better lead by example. What does it mean to be put together? What does it mean to have executive presence? Fill them in. Okay. Really, really want you thinking about that. Now, going backwards, we said develop a clear written communication. Like develop it, put it out there, repeat it. Okay. Now, let's talk about being too nice. Okay. How many of you saw that title and thought, this is me? She isn't following the rules, but I don't know how to tell her. I feel bad. I don't want to nitpick. I already told her last week. I don't want to look like the crazy boss. That's bringing it up again, right? Okay. Yeah. And there's going to be quite a few of you that resonate with this, right? And it's so funny because, you know, we are the boss. And a lot of people probably look at us and are intimidated and think like we would never identify as like trying to be nice, right? But we want to be liked. And therefore, sometimes we don't want to push because what are they going to think about us? Or how are they going to take this? And you want to get really, really clear on setting expectations, putting boundaries in place does not mean you're mean, right? You can say something honest and not come across mean. A lot of people respect honesty. They would rather have you be honest than be nice and lie to their face. Think about it. Would you rather have somebody lying to your face constantly, saying things that weren't true, or would you rather hear what needs to be said, right? Now, there's a third version of like, I would rather hear what needs to be said, but please say it in a respectful way where I'm actually going to be able to like take it in versus you just saying like, Stacy, I hate your hair color. Okay, thanks. versus like, hey, Stacy, you used to look like this and I really liked what, but there's a different way to say it, right? So how can we be version 3 of being honest, being respectful, having empathy? Does that make sense? Okay. So I really, really want you to think about, what does this look like? Okay. So with that said, I want you to figure out, where do I go from here? What conversation have I been delaying, avoiding on purpose, just procrastinating, where you don't even have plans to bring this up, but maybe today is changing your mind? Who do you need to get started with? And maybe it's not like the whole team, it's one team member. Maybe it's not all of your clients, it's like the client you keep thinking about when I talk about boundaries. Okay. So I really want you thinking, where do I go from here? What's next? Okay. Now, from here, after you set this boundary, where people get really confused on boundaries is, okay, I brought it up. I told her, I told him, they keep doing it. Stacy, I tried your thing. It's not working. Okay. And what happens with boundaries is, these are patterns that people have been doing for as long as you've been allowing it. And the longer you've been tolerating this behavior, the harder it's going to be to get out of it. So if somebody broke dress code one time, it's going to be a lot easier to fix them than for somebody who has been with you for 6 years and never follows the rules. Okay. Because they're not sure how serious you are, because you've been allowing it for so long. Okay. So speed is your friend, right? Because the faster you can correct something, the easier it will be for them to learn that new habit, right? So it's kind of like, I've been thinking about getting into golf. Okay. And I'm immediately going to hire a golf coach. Why would I do that? Well, because if I just learn myself, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm going to create very bad habits. I'm going to be doing all these weird things. I'm going to get so ingrained in my head how to swing. And then when I go to fix it, it's going to be harder for them to undo my behavior than teaching me from scratch. Okay. Whenever we have a brand, not brand new, like whenever we have somebody in like the lower 6 figures, right? Maybe even like 400,000, that comes into well-oiled and works with us, it's easier to teach them from the beginning how to hire, how to fire, how to do all of that, right? Than it is with a 25-year-old business that has like 50 employees and all of the things, right? So like time is on your side here. Like you must do things faster from the get-go. Okay. Now I'm not saying, shoot, I've been in business 10 years. I've been doing this all wrong. I'm not going to get it. No, I'm saying the best time is when you start. The second best time is like now, right? So don't wait any longer, because the longer you wait, the more you're ingraining these bad habits, and it's going to be harder to fix with your team, with your clients, with your family, with yourself. Okay. All right, guys, if you are liking this video, please hit the thumbs up. I would appreciate it so much. First of all, I didn't say this in the beginning. We finally hit 5,000 subscribers last week. Thank you so much for subscribing. That is like our first big milestone. We're so excited. We're moving on. The goal is now 10,000 subscribers. We cannot wait. I am going to be here. You're going to see us massively up level our YouTube over the next year or so. We're just going to continuously pour into it. I'm going to be back with lives. You're going to see an on-demand dropped video every single Thursday, brand new. If you have ideas, things you want to learn, put it in the comments with like, I'd love to see a video on X. And we will definitely look at that and start crafting our next plan as we go forward. Okay. This Thursday, our video is actually, I think you're going to like this week, Thursday. It's a video on this like 1-page business plan. Okay. That we use to generate over $1 million a month. So 1 page, I'm going to give you the template, but it is going to get you, it's a little worksheet. It's going to get you to go so much faster by simplifying versus thinking you got to add to scale. So that's coming Thursday on demand. It'll be dropped Thursday morning. Do not miss it. When you subscribe and mark the notifications, it'll like remind you, hey, new video has dropped. Okay. So just make sure you are watching for that. Now I'm not done. I want to answer a ton of questions. So if you've got them, please post in the chat right now. I want to work with you on that. But also I want to make sure that you are grabbing our free workbook for this week. So if you DM me on Instagram at Stacy Tuschl the phrase strong boundaries. I will send over for free this week's workbook. Okay. So the idea behind these workbooks are these are like juicy, beefed up, tactical. And then there's a little bit of like workshopping, helping you like fill some things out to get moving and to get action items moving forward. So have any of you gotten any of the workbooks? I would love to hear your thoughts. Let people know in the chat if they need to go grab those. We've been putting a lot of time and energy into those resources to make sure you get more out of these trainings. Okay. So Cheryl said, I also get a level of frustration. I don't deal with it in a positive manner. Okay. So Cheryl, you are not alone. What is happening is we start to get frustrated. And then what happens is we don't say anything. And then we get it so built up. We sometimes like blow up when the time isn't right. When the time is not ideal, or we're at a level of 10 for a 6 level frustration. Does that make sense, guys? So I really, really want you to figure out, how do I start to do this now and not prolong it? And then they're looking at me like I'm crazy because I am blowing up and I'm blowing it out of proportion when that happens. Okay. If you didn't get the last few weeks' workbooks, basically go to watch any of our lives. And in the lives, I'm training and I give you the keyword, but you do need to go find those Easter eggs, those little keywords to go grab the other things. And the reason I do that, and I'll just give it to you, if I just gave you all the workbooks, what are you going to do? You're going to go put them in a folder. You're never going to look at them. And I'm not here to just give you things you're not going to look at. I am here to get you stronger. So I want you to grasp this concept. All of you that have sat here right now for 30 minutes, you are already getting stronger. You're already realizing what you're doing wrong, what you want to fix, all of that. Okay. So go grab those last lives, start watching them. And as you watch them, go get the download. You'll grasp it so much more. Okay. All right. Yeah, you won't come back to it. I've coached enough people to know if I give you too much, it's overwhelming and it just doesn't make you productive. So I'm trying to get you to move. I'm trying to get you to take action. Okay. So I'm trying to build my team. This is my biggest challenge now. So here's what I really want you to know. I always tell people this. You are only as strong as your team. Your competitors will not be able to keep up with you if you have the skill set of multiplying your team and getting them to really understand what it looks like to become a revenue generator. So let me just back up here. Think about this. If I have a skill set of attracting, because that's a skill set, like no one's out there, there's no good people, it's slim pickings, we're not getting good applicants. You're externally thinking there's a problem in the world right now. No. There's people all over the place, okay? We're not shortage on people right now. You aren't attracting them. They aren't looking at your posting and getting excited. They're not applying. So when I say like you have to have a skill set to attract amazing people, okay? That's a skill set. Then interviewing and weeding out is another skill set, okay? Then training is a skill set. Like the reason we teach so much on people is because there's so much to learn and most business owners do it wrong. They've never been taught this. They don't know how to do this. Our personalities are actually not wired to be this amazing leader. We're bossy. We're micromanaging. We have high standards. It's like what makes us so amazing. We have ADHD. What makes us so amazing as a business owner makes us a terrible leader. I have had to develop this leader skill set that I am still working on, right? So my point is, the more you lean in to all of these skill sets, okay? These are all the things we teach inside of Well Oiled, right? So Miriam, you get them as you start practicing, as you start interviewing, right? As you start going, I'm not going to settle for that person, even though they were the best out of all the applicants. I'm not going to pick them. I'm going to start over. The more you can rinse and repeat and practice these, you'll gain those skill sets, right? So I posted on Instagram yesterday, I reshared a reel where it talked about speed is one of the best skill sets you can have. And I kind of recommented back and said, this is one of my skill sets. I am so fast. I do not wait. I do not think about it, right? A normal person hears something, thinks about it, procrastinates. Should I do it? Should I not? What should we do? Okay, let's get it perfect. It's not perfect enough. Let's try it again. By the time you've put it out, I've already failed 3 times at it and found the winner and perfected the winner 4 more times. Do you see what I'm saying? So you've got to get good at implementing and then learning and making it better. So how do you get those skill sets? You get out there, right? You don't get burned by one team member and then say, I'm not hiring anymore, right? So how do I build my team? Well, first, you can't build your team without building you as a leader, because nobody wants to work for somebody who's unorganized, who blows up at them out of nowhere because they held it in for 6 weeks and then finally complained, right? You've got to be the person somebody wants to work for. Okay. So they say, like, when you're dating and you're looking for somebody, how do I attract somebody who's, and then it's like all the dream wish lists of your significant other. Well, am I the person that this imaginary person would want to date? This is the same thing as an employee. If I'm like, I want an A player who's hardworking, revenue generating, da 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 da. Okay, who do I need to be for them to say, I want to work for you? I've had people literally message me and say, I want to work for you. I don't care what the position is. I will literally do it for free. I want to be your intern. Like, please just let me learn from you. Okay. I wouldn't be getting those types of people to say that if I wasn't working on like my characteristics. Some of you, some small business owners, they're not working on themselves. They're externally blaming these applicants. Oh, there's nobody good out there. They have no common sense. How many of you are like, oh, I've said some of these things recently, right? Oh my goodness, I told her 2 times already. How is she not remembering this, right? And those are all problems as you're building your leadership skills. This is what well-oiled is. This is what we teach, right? It's literally, how do we start to be this person to lead this team and then give them the systems and tools they need to help the business run, right? So, sorry, this is such a tangent. How do I grow the business? You grow yourself. You start attracting these people, right? And these people have such high expectations. They demand you are organized, you have your act together, that they have security here. If you have a business that's just like doesn't know what's going on, they're not going to want to stay here, right? If you're not speaking to them with respect, they're not going to tolerate it. They have boundaries too. We're talking about like our boundaries, but some of these people have different boundaries and you're crossing them and they're not going to put up with it. They're not going to tolerate you speaking to them in a certain way, or you not giving them the review they need, right? To earn their raise, to talk about, where am I at? Like, they have high expectations too. Okay. Especially when you attract A players. So I think that's one of the biggest things we need to understand is, like, there is nothing more that you need to work on in 2025 than being a leader, a true leader. Make sense? Okay. Jennifer, for the free workbook, you don't want to message your coach because this is inside of marketing. So you want to go to DM me at Stacy Tuschl on Instagram and they will have it. But the coaches, unfortunately, do not have it. The coaches have, obviously, the real workbooks that are the templates inside of the program. Okay. Brianna, what's your best tip for going from a friendly manager to a manager with expectations without ruining the rapport? Okay. This is common. Okay. This is common. And sometimes you have to acknowledge the behavior that's been happening and say, hey, listen, I just love working with you. And I have been really laid back with some of the things that have been going on, right? And I need to be better at really holding true to, and if this is a manager, not the owner, it's really easy to say, listen, you report to me and I report to the owner. And the owner is setting expectations that I am promising to uphold. And I've been so worried about, being liked and being friendly that I'm sometimes not following, right, the rules or what we should be doing. And I'm really recommitting to making sure that I help with the owner's vision and what they're expecting. So I just want to give you guys all a heads up that I may come across a little bit more strict, and I may start to say things or do things that you might go, wow, she wasn't, I could pass deadlines before and it wasn't a big deal. And now she's like, wait, so she said Friday deadline and she's Thursday saying reminder tomorrow is the deadline. And then Friday she's like, hey, today's the deadline. What's happening? I'm going to be a little more strict when it comes to XYZ and use real examples of where people aren't following the rules, because they're going to be confused when you have been friendly and not, really sticking to things. And all of a sudden you're like nitpicking the things you never cared about. So I would give a heads up of like, because you're changing the rules, guys. You're changing what you're looking at. And I would just say that, like, I've been very lenient on XYZ. I'm giving you a big heads up. February, March, April. When I say a deadline, I mean it. Like, it needs to happen. And if for some reason it can't happen, you've got to give me a heads up within 48 hours before the deadline. Make sense? So, hopefully, Brianna, that helps a little bit of just like own it. Now, if it's not, if the manager is the owner, right? You just own it and you say, listen, I've been lenient here and I need to get better because it's impacting the business. Like, why does it matter that people make deadlines? Why does it matter that people show up and they're in dress code? Why does it matter that we follow systems? Tell them, explain how it's hurting the business without it and why we have to focus on hitting XYZ. Okay. Great question. I really like that a lot. Nicole, yes, you'll be able to get any video that you watch with the same keyword. So if you go back and watch an old video 3 weeks ago and you go to Instagram and DM them, they will get it for you. All right. Mina, I love it. Good for you. So happy to hear that. Strong boundaries is today's keyword. If you go to Instagram and DM me over there. All right. Let me see if I missed any other questions. If there's anything else posted in the chat, I'll stick around for just a couple more minutes. I do have to run to Well Oiled. I am doing a training today inside of Well Oiled. So just so you know, if you're in Well Oiled, we have, after you've been there for 6 months, we start to have like really advanced curriculum. And today's training is about profit focused. And it's all on upselling, cross-selling, literally just making more money from your current client base. And I will tell you, we have 30 days detailed out with week 1, do this, week 2, do this. And it's like spelled out. Here are the emails to send. Here are the text messages. Here are the scripts, etc. And the goal is to literally help every single person in the program. Like, my goal is to get you to make like another $10,000 from upselling and cross-selling. So that's happening today at 1 p.m. Central for anybody that's in Woo Plus, which just means you've been in the program 6 months or longer. If you have shared a boundary with a client to please email you over text, how often do you repeat to them without feeling rude? Okay, Brittany, I know. Okay. So first, I would just explain, hey, like, first you say it once and then you do what you said. So if they text me, I might, trying to think how I would do this. Okay, so let's say my new boundary is I check email every day at 3 p.m. Okay, please don't text. It needs to go in email. I wouldn't even respond to that text. I would email them back at 3 p.m. So I might glance at my phone on purpose at 3 p.m. I'm in my email already. I might reply to them on email. Okay. Now, the only problem with that is you could create a new thing of perfect. I still can text her. She's just going to reply to me through email. Okay. So here's what you could do that I think would be more impactful. At 3 p.m., when you said you were going to email back, you text back and say, hey, great question. I'm in the middle of something right now and I don't want to forget about this. Please send this exact message to this email and I'll get back to you by the end of the day. Okay. So do you see how that's a step up? I'm not answering your question. I just reminded you where to put it. So you can do it more than once. So today, even I had somebody message me and I go, cool. Can this wait till the meeting on Monday? It was like, yep, perfect. Great. Amazing. So I didn't respond. I said, can this wait till Monday? Perfect. Later on, another question. Okay, great. If this is a discussion, let's discuss it Monday. Okay. So that's 2 times in one day. I guarantee you there won't be a third. And if there is a third, I'm going to say the exact same thing. Because if you're worried about being rude, they should be worried about like they're not grasping it. Do you see what I'm saying? So you don't worry about being rude. You can say it in a kind way that's like, great, amazing, would love to. Let's do that on our call on Friday. If you could shoot me an email, I would love to help you with this. It's going to make sure we don't drop balls because I do not want to miss your text messages. Okay. That's it. So that's probably the best strategy to get them moving in the right direction. Brittany, does that help? All right. Cheryl, where do I find a team members? Okay, so here's the big thing. And let's go one step back. Robin said, what's an A player? Okay. So A players are just these like rock star unicorn team members a lot of you don't believe exist. So you might say things like, I've got an A player, but she just misses deadlines. I've got an A player, but she just, kind of pushes back once in a while. Those are not A players. A players are like the list. They show up, they listen, they work hard, they're resourceful, they have a positive mindset. Like they are literally like A+ on their report card. Some of you do not believe they exist because you've never had them. Okay. But the better your report card gets, the more they're going to be coming after you. These unicorns are out there and they want to work for a unicorn business. Some of you are not putting the skill set behind the leaders, the training, the systems, and they look at your business and go, Even in the interview process, they can tell you're not organized. So they're not going to work for somebody like you, right? So trust me, I am telling you because I've been passed up. Like I, years ago, would have these interviews and be like, yes, you got the job. And they're like, sorry, I accepted somebody else's position. I would hear that, right? Now we don't hear that a lot, right? Like we've got such a great offer. It's such a great opportunity. We're usually the people they're picking. So that's what I mean when I say A player. Now, where do you find them? Well, I could sit here and tell you all the places to go, but it's not like they're just sitting there and you're going to go grab them and like hook with your, like you're fishing for them, right? Because I'm over there too. And other people in well-oiled are over there too. And the more well-oiled you are, the more they're the A players picking the well-oiled businesses over the ones that are disorganized. They're kind of, the interviews going all over the place. They can just tell they're interviewing you as much as you're interviewing them. You just don't realize it, right? So A players are on every single one of these platforms, Indeed, LinkedIn, etc. But you have to be so strong that they're like, yes, I want to work there. I'll do it for a pay cut. You know what I mean? So you want to be thinking about that. Okay. Can you teach someone to be an A player? You can educate on how to do certain things, but certain skill sets, Becky, you don't teach. They need to come with it. So I can't teach drive. I can't teach like you having morals. That's who you are, right? So you need to look for certain things that they already come with, right? Could I teach somebody to smile more? I could. It would just be a lot harder than making sure when I interview that when they walk in, they're smiling already, right? So I think you can teach it, but when it's not like, I think you can teach, I think a lot of these things are teachable, but for somebody to come in the door who's not friendly, I could teach them what it looks like to not be friendly and what it looks like to be friendly. And I could drill them and I could train them and I could say, you make eye contact, you smile. And then I could watch them and I could say, hey, listen, you did make good eye contact, but you didn't smile. So we're gonna try it one more time. And I could train you to be friendly. I could. But it's gonna be a whole lot easier when the person walks in the door and she's like, hi, nice to meet you. Shakes my hand and she's smiling and she's friendly. Perfect. It's already ingrained in her, right? So there are certain things though. Drive is just something I can't teach. Maybe it would just, to me, maybe you can. It would just take way too long. Like my people are so hungry, so driven. They want it. versus somebody who has been brainwashed to settle, to be mediocre. That's just how they have been. It's going to be all, I just don't have the time to sit here and to get you at that level. Does that make sense? Yeah. So certain things, like I'm more thinking about when I create a system and it's just like, okay, what does this look like? What does that look like? How, step 1, step 2, step 3. If it's very, very easy of like, these are the 10 steps, just you click this, do that, etc. Anybody can learn that, right? So as long as I'm finding people that are in alignment with my company values, right? So for me, I'm looking for a team player. I'm looking for somebody who is just like such a positive mindset, go-getter. They're more of a glass half full, right, than half empty, right? Just all of these different characteristics. When I look for that, I'm like, oh, I can teach them any of our systems, right? Now, what happens is if you don't have systems written down and you're not clear on your company values, it's a whole lot harder to figure out who I should hire and how I'm going to train them. Okay. So hopefully that is something you're really starting to figure out. Okay, where do I have more time? Do I have more money? Right? Because the more money you have, the more you can hire those people that already kind of come with that experience. If you're like, I don't really have a lot of money, I'm going to have to go a little bit cheaper on my next hire, you're going to have to put more time into them. And this is where we get unrealistic as business owners. And we're like, no, I don't have the time or the money. You don't get to say that. You have to pick one or the other, right? You have to figure out, am I going to spend the time to train or am I going to spend a little bit more money so there's less training? But either way, there absolutely is time and money involved. Becky, what do you mean feedback on picking the correct one? Like, I mean, it's kind of like saying, how do I pick the best employee, team member, contractor at every time, right? And really, it's like I just said, getting clear on your values and getting clear on what this role requires and how close do they fit that mold of what I'm looking for. So I'm not looking for somebody to come in, knock it out of the park, okay, and 10 out of 10 categories. But I am looking at how many of these skill sets do they already have? Which ones are they missing? And can I teach those? That's pretty much it. Yeah. Can I watch the upselling live next week? Since, well, all of our recordings, all of our calls are recorded. So if you're saying you can't make it today, you can watch the recording. But just so you know, the training I'm jumping to is for Woo Plus, and that's for anybody that is in their second round of Well Oiled in our advanced training. So if you're brand new, you wouldn't have access to it yet. You have a ton of other stuff to be watching. But if you've been in it for 6 months, then you would have it. Yes. Okay. So good. All right. So a couple reminders. Go to Instagram, get today's workbook. Strong boundaries is the keyword. Okay. That is just DMing me at Stacy Tuschl on Instagram. If you're like, man, I want more of this boundary stuff, that is last Thursday's episode we just dropped. So if you're looking for more boundaries, more training, more education, go watch this previous Thursday's on-demand training. Okay. This coming up Thursday, new videos dropping, and it's all about this one-page document, not the same pager. It's a new document we brought out, something brand spanking new. And it's just talking about this one-page document that has really helped us get crystal clear and take our business to $1 million a month. Okay. All right. Donna, how do I replace two reps that are currently not performing now that I found a rep? Okay. Oh, maybe an A player rep. Okay. So this is a really, really good question. So first, what's going to happen is you're going to hire and you're going to start to go, here is this person and here's who I currently have. Okay. Now, sometimes just bringing in this person shows this person, wow, I didn't know that was possible. Okay. So bringing in a new A player can show potential. If this person is not inspired to become them, they're not working any harder, they don't care that person is faster, smarter, more efficient, etc., you realize you do not have the right person and you're going to need to let them go. You're going to coach them up, coach them out on a performance improvement plan. Okay. That's easy. Like that is like the first step is you're showing them this is realistic. He or she is doing it. You're here. We've got to get you up or it's no longer a good fit. You're coaching them out. Okay. So that's going to be huge. Now, that's really my only tip, Donna, is just immediately show them, hey, now that Sally's here, we're seeing XYZ. We know it's doable. So we're going to really pour into you and we want to see this from you over the next 30 days. Okay. And that's what's so cool about up leveling. You're like, I didn't know that was possible. I didn't know we were capable of that. I didn't know that was even an opportunity we could be doing, right? Okay. Yes. Okay. So good. Is there a template to hire the best union member? This is where don't get so stuck on their union because what does it like? I know what union means, and we've worked with people where like in Chicago, everybody working is a union like employee, right? So then they have different rules and regulations. But there's nothing different about the person working, showing up than any other employee or contractor. So sometimes when we're unique, we let that hold us back. So, like a lot of nonprofits that watch my stuff will say, okay, this is great, but I'm a nonprofit business or I'm a nonprofit organization. So, like, how does this apply to me? I'm like, pretty much anytime I said the word business, you put in the word nonprofit and just do the exact same thing. So, for me, Becky, every time you say the word union member, I would be putting in like team member. But there is literally no difference in what you're expecting. Okay. And same thing with contractors. Somebody's like, well, you can't have KPIs for contractors that they're contractors. I'm like, you absolutely have KPIs for contractors because when I hire like an ads company, I say, listen, I'm expecting 4 times return on my ad spend. I'm expecting you to come on a meeting and tell me what's happening. And I'm expecting you to troubleshoot. These are my expectations. These are your KPIs. And if you can't do that, I'm not going to continue to hire you and work with you. So I 1000% have clear expectations for every type of person that works for me. Okay. Or with me. All right, guys, we are going to wrap here. I hope today was a little eye-opening for you, a good reminder. Maybe it's going to spark some conversations with some people you need to have better boundaries with. It's not about boundaries means you're mean, right? Right now, your too nice attitude is hurting the business, hurting yourself. It's time to start changing your behavior, and it will change other people's behavior around you when you do that. All right, guys, I will see you live next week. Thank you so much for joining. I will talk to everybody very soon. Bye, guys.